Thank you everyone for joining again. Now we are going to move on to discuss about our describing of experiment. Okay. Now let's look at our question 7. Question 7. C. Okay. Now this was what we discussed yesterday, but I have not given you the procedure. Okay. I gave you this condition of the question where it is about the decomposition of hydrogen peroxide using one set using catalyst, another set without using catalyst. Okay. Now I am now going to discuss using the answer to show you what is the correct method that you are going to write about your experiment on how the manganese 4 oxide affect the rate of decomposition of hydrogen peroxide. Okay, now let's look at this. We are now at question 7C. Yeah, okay. Now, first of all, you have to know what is the method that you should use. Okay, the method that you should use will be what I mentioned previously, which is the downwards water displacement method. I hope you still remember what is that. It is the part where you have a burette which is inverted over a basin of water. Okay. Now, before you settle about the conical flask, we will always talk about the burette first. So, can you see the action here? Fill a burette with water. You invert into the water, and you please don't forget to tell. Then you clamp it vertically. Okay, don't forget to tell about this. Here there are a few action at the same time. Number one, you fill with a burette with water. You invert it. After you invert, you are going to clamp it. Okay, these are the few parts. Okay, now one part which is not mentioned here at this step. Second step. What should be the second step after you have talked about this the burette? Can I have a suggestion from you? What should be next? Ranjani? Ranjani, are you there?
Yes, teacher.
Okay, after you invert the burette, you clamp it, what should you do with the burette? What should you record?
The initial reading of the burette.
Correct. So you please add in step 2. You have to record. This will be point 2 actually. Record the initial burette reading. Okay. After recording the initial burette reading, then only you talk about this, where you are going to measure 50 centimeter cube of hydrogen peroxide solution and pour into the conical flask. There is something wrong with this here. Okay. So what should it be? What should this be? With the volume, what should you put? With the volume, what should you put? Any idea? Yes, you are going to put in the concentration. Okay, so you can learn from our question yesterday. Measure 50 centimeter cube. You can put 10 volume of hydrogen peroxide solution and pour into a conical flask. If you don't want to put 10 volume, you can put as what we have previously. For example, 1 mole per decimeter cube. 1 mole per decimeter cube, okay, can be accepted. Now we continue. After you measure and pour into the conical flask, the first set, you are going to add 1 spatula of manganese 4 oxide into the conical flask. Okay, then you are going to close the conical flask with a stopper, which is fitted with a delivery tube. And important part will be the word immediately. Okay, immediately. Now you are going to before the start the stopwatch immediately, you are going to tell stopper fitted with the delivery tube and connect to the burette. Okay, then only you tell immediately start the stopwatch, or you can actually put this immediately here. Okay, this word is important. Without immediately, it shows that you might not recording the correct volume. Okay, you are going to record the volume of gas released at every 30 seconds, or you can put 30-second intervals. Okay, next part. Now we have already mentioned a few steps here. So you count how many steps we have mentioned, and you are going to repeat what are the steps I've added. So 1 to 7 without adding the manganese 4 oxide. Okay, these are the points. Recall. First thing, fill a burette with water. Step 1. Then you invert it. Then you clamp it. Record the initial burette reading. So at the basin of water, you are going to have 4 steps. Okay. Now, actually, here for the basin of water, you will have 4 steps. 4 action you have to do. Then you talk about the hydrogen peroxide in the conical flask. You put in, you talk about the factor. The manganese 4 oxide as catalyst. Stopper the conical flask with a stopper with delivery tube, connect to the burette. Start the stopwatch. Then you tell what you record. Then you say you want to repeat the experiment. Okay, so we have already done for the procedure. Now for the sketching of graph, it will be the volume of gas against time.
Teacher.
Yes.
For the burette, right? When you fill in water, got no particular reading of water, teacher.
You just fill it full.
Okay.
Then after that, after you invert it, you are going to record the initial burette reading. So that is the reading. Can follow what I mean?
Can.
Okay, thank you. Now we continue. Here, you have 2 sets of experiment. This 1 and 2, you follow what your procedure put. If let's say your procedure, you start with without the catalyst, then that will be 1. If you repeat with catalyst, then that will be 2. This answer is according to the procedure that I told you just now. Okay, so this catalyst, we know that it will not affect the volume of the gas release. Therefore, the graph will meet at the same height. But with the presence of catalyst, the rate of reaction will increase. That's why graph 1 will be higher than graph 2. The gradient is greater, steeper. Okay, now what is the conclusion that we can make? The conclusion that we make is that when the catalyst added, which is the manganese 4 oxide, added to the hydrogen peroxide, the rate of reaction increases. Okay, I hope you are okay with this. No problem, if no problem, then we are going to move on to the next question, where we are talking about question number 8. Now go to question number 8. This is one of your homework. Now this time they are telling you reaction between a metal with the acid produce hydrogen gas. This is what we have already learned in the chapter of acid, base and salt. Now addition of catalysts affect the rate of production of hydrogen gas. Here can you see suggest? When you are asked to suggest, meaning not necessary, you have to spell it out. You can just put the formula. A metal and an acid. What metal that you would suggest? As what I mentioned yesterday, it should be a reactive metal, which is either the M, which is the magnesium, the A, which is the aluminium, or the Z, which is the zinc. And this is what I always say that as the reactive metals. Okay. And please remember, don't use the potassium, sodium, calcium. They are too reactive. And now we continue. When you can mention one metal and one acid correctly, you get 1 mark each. Now, what acid that you can use? Any type of acid. Okay, next part. Using the collision theory, explain the change in the rate of reaction that occur with the presence of a named catalyst. Did you see the word name? When we are having the word name, this one, the name means we have to write the name of the catalyst. Now, the name of the catalyst used here is actually the copper 2 sulfate. The catalyst used in this case is actually the copper 2 sulfate. Okay, so now we are talking about the collision theory. We have already discussed it once, and today it is actually a repetition on how the catalyst affect the rate of reaction. Okay, now please check whether you get this answer or not. Yeah. The copper 2 sulfate which act as the catalyst. What is left here? You have to tell, provides an alternative pathway with a lower activation energy. Okay, this is your first part. Second part, you are going to tell more colliding particles are able to achieve the lower activation energy, this part. Okay, and this is the sentence where most of the students, you will always forget. Please remember. Then the next part only we talk about the frequency of collision and the frequency of effective collision. And I repeat, you have to tell about the word atom for the metal particles, and also you have to tell about the word atom and also the ions, okay, that we have already mentioned just now. Now go to question number 2. I hope you are okay. I don't go slow because we have already mentioned it in the previous lesson. Now here, the diagram shows you the time taken to dissolve sugar cube. If I don't want to talk about sugar cube, I can change it to become making coffee, okay? At different temperature when making a cup of tea. Now they are making a cup of tea. But the important part here is to dissolve the sugar cube at different temperature, which is at 60 degrees Celsius and 27 degrees Celsius. Okay. The time taken when you are using the 60 degrees Celsius water will be 30 seconds. The time taken when you are using 27 degrees Celsius, it will be 80 seconds. Now, can you see the word explain the difference? There are 2 parts here. Number 1, the first part will be talking about the difference. Second part will be talking about the explanation. Okay, so what's the difference that you can see from this picture? Can anyone respond? What do you see from here which is difference in this picture? Anyone?
Change in temperature.
Change in temperature. Does the temperature change? Now, when you are talking about the difference in the situation, that means you are actually looking at this as the situation 1, this as the situation 2. Okay, Joseph, what can you tell about the difference in the situation here? Joseph, are you
Present.
there? Yes.
The difference in rate of reaction.
The difference in the rate of
Reaction.
Okay, now see when 60 degrees Celsius is used, the time taken is shorter or longer? The time taken is shorter. When a lower temperature is used, the time taken for the sugar to dissolve is longer. This is the difference. Now, why is there a difference? I repeat now, what is the difference? The difference is when the sugar cube dissolves at a higher temperature, which is 60 degrees Celsius, time taken is shorter compared to when the sugar dissolves at a lower temperature, which is 27 degrees Celsius, time taken is longer. Okay, that is the difference. And we know that the temperature serves as the factor in this case. Now, when we want to explain what is the keyword for temperature, anyone knows? Keywords for temperature. Should we hear from our friend Roshni? Roshni?
Kinetic energy of particles.
Kinetic energy of particles. And here, what are the particles which is involved? Anyone know? Monisha, do you know what is the particles which is involved? You are putting sugar into water. So what are the particles involved?
The solid particles to the liquid particles
Okay, which is the solid?
from the sugar, the cube
Sugar.
sugar.
Okay, sugar consists of what type of particle? When I'm talking about type of particle, what is the word that comes into your mind? It will be the atom, which is the atom, ion, and molecule. So sugar consists of what type of particle? Sugar consists of what type of particles?
Molecule.
Yes, it's molecule. Good. Now we continue. So we are going to tell that the kinetic energy of sugar molecules and water molecules increases. Follow? If really you don't know what are the particles, then you just say that the kinetic energy of the particles increases. When the kinetic energy of the particle increases, then what can you tell next? Then you are going to say the water molecule, the sugar molecule and the water molecule move faster. Okay, when it moves faster, the molecules, the force of attraction between the molecules is overcome easier. I repeat, the kinetic energy of water particles and sugar particles increases. The water particles and sugar particles move faster. These molecules can overcome the force of attraction between the molecules easier. Okay, then you can say it takes a shorter time to dissolve. But actually in our first part, we have already mentioned about the shorter time, which is used to dissolve. Okay, any problem until here? Any problem until here? I hope you are okay with this. Okay, next part. Now, we are now talking about another part of the question, part C. Can you see? Substance M, this is M, this is also M. But what is different in between them? The size are different. You can see that this is of bigger size and this is of smaller size. Okay, again, the question asks you to do what? See, now the question say, suggest substance M. That means you have to give what is the M. Then after that, you are going to describe the experiment to show the factor, which is the size, on how does the size affect the rate of reaction of the M with acid. That means this M can react with the acid. So what is the M? Again, it will be the mass, the magnesium, aluminium, or the zinc. Okay. And now when you want to describe about the experiment, what you have to have in your answer. First part, talk about the apparatus and materials. Second part, the procedure. Third, the observation. Okay, and now they want you to show how it affects the rate of reaction. So from there, you have to make a conclusion. Any problem with this? I hope you're okay
Teacher,
with this. Yes.
if we say calcium carbonate cannot,
Okay, if you want to say calcium carbonate, can it react with acid?
it will produce carbon dioxide gas.
Okay, then it can. As long as the substance M can react with the acid, it can be either a metal or a calcium carbonate or any carbonate compound. Can no fixed substance M here. That's why they ask you to suggest. And when you are writing your answer, you are using actually the substance that you have suggested. Okay, so now I show you how you should write the answer. Yeah, we are now at 8C here. You can put magnesium, aluminium, or zinc, or you want to use calcium carbonate. Can. Okay. Now next part, we are actually talking about the downwards water displacement again. Do you notice that? Do you notice that? So the steps is actually all the same. Just glance through. The step is actually all the same as what. Okay, now the step is actually all the same as what you have already as what we have already discussed just now. Okay, it's just that you are changing the acid to the acid that you the hydrogen peroxide to the acid that you suggest. Number one. Number two, you are telling you are going to add in the magnesium, let's say. Then you are using the mass. The mass normally will be 5 grams. Okay, and for the acid, you please remember to put in the volume and concentration. I repeat now, for acid, remember to put in the volume and concentration. For the substance that you are adding in, please remember to put the mass, which is 5 grams. You have to make sure the substance is in excess. Okay, and don't forget, after you have added the substance, you are going to stopper it with the stopper with delivery tube, connect to the burette. Then you start the stopwatch immediately. Other steps will be the same as the hydrogen peroxide question just now. That means when you can write your answer for one part, which is on the decomposition of hydrogen peroxide, actually you have no problem to write your answer for the experiment that involve the calcium carbonate and acid or the metal with acid. Because these three set of experiments can be carried out using the same setup, which is the downwards water displacement method. Okay, any problem until here? No, okay, I think you are better after talking about a few questions. Okay, so we are going to continue with our lesson with the homework that I am giving you now. Okay, please complete objective questions 1 to 15, 1 to 15, and structure 2, 3, and 4. Structure 2, 3, and 4. Objective 1 to 15. Okay, I'm going to discuss about this in our next lesson.